really happy to be here with Chandra Burns, who's going to share her story about how Jesus has been faithful to her. Chandra, welcome.
Thank you.
Have Jesus been good to you?
Oh, yes. He has been my father, my protector, my provider, just so many things over the years. So, yeah.
So tell us, where did it all start?
So it all started here in Fort Worth, Texas. I've lived here all my life. 6 months in Pennsylvania one time, but that's it. And
you hurried back?
They hurried back. My parents did because I was a child. And so grew up here in Fort Worth. My parents were drug addicts, and that's where the story begins. Really, they met as most of the hippies in Fort Worth did. They hung out at Trinity Park and met there and got pregnant with me and got married on Halloween. They had pictures. They were wearing purple and went to a concert afterwards. Yeah. And so my mom was pregnant. They had me. And when I was 6 months old, my father was moved out, was no longer in the picture. My grandparents, though, however, were very involved in my life. Thank God for my grandparents.
Wow.
My mother's mother, she was a widow, so it was just her. And then my dad had his parents still.
Okay, so even if he moved out, they still remained?
Yes, they all, my grandparents on his side even stayed in the picture after he legally let someone else adopt me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
And so they were a constant. Especially my Mimi. She was my mom's mom, and I go by Mimi for my grandkids now because I loved her so much.
Wow.
And they all were part of my life. And my grandmother worked at her church, and I think that's why I have a love for the church home, because I went to church with her. She ran a nursery for 32 years.
Okay.
And we were up there 3 days a week during the summer. I would hang out in the church library, wander the church, spend time just
So
helping.
It was like an extra home for you.
It was. I lived there, you know. So part of the story is I would be with my mother part of the time, and then I would end up back with my grandmother. And so my mother was a heroin addict.
Okay.
And so hard drugs, you know, that's really deep into drugs.
And drugs and children is not the best combination.
No, not the best combination. Something that was explained to me later was, you know, she probably did the best she knew how to do by protecting me, by giving me to my grandmother at times. You know, I thought I had to be with her to keep her safe.
So you were torn.
I was torn. I would beg to go with her places because I knew, if I'm with her, maybe she will go back home and she'll won't stay out all night, or, you know, different things like that. There's a lot of instances where I can look back over my life and see God's hand of protection.
Yes.
And excuse me. There's times, let's see, I remember her going to prison. I was 2. And they came to pick her up at our house early in the morning, and at my grandmother's house. Yes. And I remember her leaving. I remember going to visit my dad in jail with my grandparents and telling their friends at church that we went to see my dad wearing the white suits. Wow. And it totally embarrassed my grandparents at their church, you know, because.
But you had to carry a lot of burdens that a child should not have to carry.
Did. And I think we, as a child who grows up in that situation, you learn what to hide. You learn what is a secret and what you're not allowed to talk about because you don't want them to get in trouble. And things children shouldn't have to carry and protect the adults.
Yes.
And
to minimize probably your own needs and wants, because there are so many problems around anyway.
Yes. Oh, crazy, crazy world, you know, like around you. Things I'm just, you know, I thought of a lot of things that where I was protected, where I should have been in a car with my grandparents.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was 7 and we would go visit my great grandmother in Oklahoma just for the day because it was only a couple hour drive. And my mother woke up that morning and called my grandparents and said, she can't go with you. I don't feel like she's supposed to go with you.
Wow.
Now, my mom was not living for the Lord at the time. she did know the Lord, but she wasn't living or
No.
serving the Lord. And she called and told them that. Well, they were in a car wreck and my grandmother was killed.
Oh.
And I would have been sitting on the little armrest thing in the middle, because
yes.
that's what you did back in the 70s.
yes.
And so, no seatbelts, no car seats, So that's an instance where I know.
So God managed to communicate
Oh.
with your mother despite her not walking with the Lord at
Yes.
that time
Yes.
and saving your life.
Yes.
Oh man,
Yes.
that's wonderful.
At 8, we were at my aunt's house, which
Mhm.
was my dad, my biological dad.
Mhm.
I had 2 dads,
Okay. Yeah.
And so we were at my Aunt Brenda's house, and she's gone on to be with the Lord now, because years later. But we were playing, my cousins and I, and all these cars came up that alley, and we were so we went. I took the boys. They're 2 boys,
Yes.
and I took them, and we went to the driveway because I was like watching what was going on,
Yes.
and it was a major drug bust.
Oh.
And so they asked us, an undercover officer came and she asked us, "Do you live here?"
Mm.
And I said, "No, they do. My cousins do. I'm just here playing, And we went inside, and there was people lined up all around the room. I can vividly picture it.
Oh.
And like they were pushing them, and I yelled, "Don't hurt my mom," And the whole
Oh.
room went quiet. And then it just went back to what they were doing because they were busy. And
Yes.
my understanding is my uncle is still in prison for that.
Oh.
And that tells you how much.
Yes.
And there was children in the house, and so it was
right.
endangerment to children.
So you were not always in a safe environment growing up.
No, I was never. When I was with my grandmother
Yes.
and my other grandparents, I was very safe. It was a protected area.
Yes.
But not when I was with my mom. It wasn't a safe environment.
But you're sitting here, so God must have protected you.
Yes,
That's amazing.
Yeah, so God He took care of me so many times. And we were thinking about this. I was like, how many times He protects us that we don't know.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
these are the things you remember and you know of. But how many more times?
How many more times did He protect me and keep me safe? I mean, they were dealing drugs out of our home. They were teaching me about them.
Oh, really?
And one thing I like to say is, I'm not a statistic.
No.
No. There's statistics, children who grow up in this, they're going to go this way.
Yes.
But I could have.
Yes.
Very easily. I started drinking a lot. And shortly before I actually got saved, I grew up in church, learned about church, sang in the choir, played in the bell choir. But my personal real walk with Jesus was at 17.
Oh, wow.
And so I was this girl who was drinking even at school.
Wow. To
the next year, I came back from summer vacation and I was carrying my Bible.
Oh, so you must have had a life transforming meeting with Jesus. Do you want to describe what happened?
So I just, I met someone who, it was funny, in the late 80s in Fort Worth. What you did for entertainment on the weekend was you cruised Camp Bowie. That's real close here, you know. So everybody drove around and they met in parking lots and they talked and visited. And then the police would chase us out of parking lot and we'd go to the next parking lot. We'd talk and visit. And so I met my children's dad and he started inviting me to church. Oh, wow. Well, I didn't know what kind of church he was talking about because I grew up in a Presbyterian church. So, we came in and we read our little pamphlet and we said the scriptures and we said the songs that it said in there, you know, and we graduated from cherub choir to this choir as we aged and wore different color robes and, well, he told us he went to a Pentecostal church. Okay. I didn't know what he was talking about. We didn't talk about that at the Presbyterian church, and so I told my friend, ask him what kind of church it is, because I had no idea. And thanks to persistence of asking me to go, because I would make excuses. Oh, I'm not going to get off work in time. Well, I'll wait for you. That's not what I wanted, And probably I count a lot of it to his praying mother, who is also my spiritual mother. Oh, wow. She is a constant also in my life. Wow. And she goes to church here with us. And beautiful. She is she's my mom. You know, she's my godly mom, that I wanted and longed for. And I and her husband, who has passed away now, he was a dad. He was my dad. And so they have always been supporters and lifting me up in prayer. And if I need anything, you know, for prayer sakes, I call them, you know.
That's beautiful. So how God gave you parents.
He did.
You know,
he did.
He looked out for you.
He really did.
Yes.
And I just, you know, I thought about children who grow up in my situation. They don't have to go to that. That's why I say I'm not a statistic. I didn't have to go to that. And like I said, I could have easily because I started drinking. And you
had access to all of these
I had
things.
Access to it. It was in our home.
Yes.
I did smoke pot some because it was there at the house, you know. Probably secondhand all of my life, you know, honestly, growing, you know.
But his mother prayed for you.
Yes. Oh, well, I think she thought, who is this heathen girl you're bringing around?
Oh, yes.
Honestly. And she was like, oh, no, what is this? You know, so she started praying for me. And so I started going to church. It did not take long. Met at like spring break time. By that summer, I was already filled with the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
I mean, like, it was like I grabbed hold and just changed.
So you sensed the presence of God when you entered that place?
Yes, we were always there. There was youth activities, very involved in our youth group. And that was it.
Yes.
I found hope and something new. And
that's beautiful.
I just...
Do you remember a specific moment, or was it like a sunrise gradually?
I do remember... specifically going to the altar. And I remember someone, I think it was a dear friend, her name's Barbara. And I remember her saying, you know, just God forgives you. And I said, I know God does, but I don't forgive myself. You know, it wasn't, I had no problem accepting that he forgave me. No. I remember calling out to him all growing up when I was in those situations. I would call out to God.
Yes.
So I always knew that God existed, you know.
And you were never like bitter towards him for your upbringing, or
no, I wasn't. I didn't blame God for that. And I know some say that they have a hard time relating to God as their father because of bad father
experiences.
Yes, experiences. But I wanted it so bad. I wanted a father so bad that was not an issue to me. No. I was like, oh, he's my dad.
Wow, that's
God's
beautiful.
My dad, you know. So.
And I mean, that is also, just because you've had a bad experience of a father doesn't mean you will have a problem with calling God Father, because God came and became your father.
He did. And he, like I said, he protected me. All the environments that I was put in, left in, I was left at a drug dealer's home for a weekend. And I was just left there, you know, and left alone, living by myself when I was 14, got to school by myself, took the bus, went to school, came home when I wanted to go, you know, kind of thing. But God, I mean, you know, someone could have been watching, and I could have been abducted. I could have been, you know, something could have happened to me.
And also, I mean, God protected you from, I mean, you smoked some pot and things, but God protected you from getting into the heavy drugs and getting, you know, totally messed up.
And I had a mindset like I want away from that lifestyle. I did have that mindset, but then it was starting, some of, you know, like the alcohol and smoking pot and things were starting to creep in. And I was still drinking, not really smoking pot by the time I started going to church. No. But after that, I just fell in love with church and Jesus, and you know, and that was it for me.
There you left.
I just left it behind, and people made fun of me at school. You know, oh, Bible thumper and stuff like that. Oh, you know, what are you running the pews and stuff? And I was like, what are y'all talking about? You know. Wow. But I was like, well, you know, this is who they saw night and day.
Oh, wow.
They saw this dark kid who was just hurting and lost, and then I became a different person. Wow. And so
coming to Jesus also made, you know, gave you some inner healings.
Yes. I think, I know there was a lot of healing in that. I was going to say a pinpoint. Yeah. I remember and I remember exactly where it was. I was kneeling by these steps down towards the altar. And I know that there was an organ like above the steps, and that's where I got filled with the Holy Spirit. And I like can picture it to this day, like that's like right where it was. And I could walk in that church and walk to that spot,
That's amazing. Yeah. You really had an encounter with God.
I did. And I remember having so much joy that night. Yes. It was a Sunday night service. And I remember praying, and we had some activity to go to after church. And I was like, just bubbly and jumping and running to the car, like, cause I was so excited.
Wow.
Like amazing. I was so happy, so it went from total darkness to I had hope.
Wow.
Even though things were still not exactly perfect at home, but it was
well with your soul.
Yes, it was. I was healed, and I had joy in here.
That's amazing. And hope for the future. Yes, and you were not alone.
Right, I did.
You started off quite lonely, but then Jesus got you. That's beautiful.
It was a big transformation.
Yes. So. And how did you continue to walk and grow in the Lord?
So it just, I never left that church. No. Stayed in church ever since. Wow. I remember asking, what does tithing mean? Because they didn't discuss that. We pledged at the Presbyterian Church. Okay. We pledged, and that was never explained. So I asked about that. Wow. As a teenager, and
you were serious.
I was serious. I wanted to know, what are they talking about? Wow. And just really.
And how did your mom take it? Because it's a radical different lifestyle than she had chosen, or
it was
ended up in.
And she knew the Lord deep down. She grew up in church also, but just her father died when she was 2. Oh. And I think the Lord showed me why she was so easily inclined to go towards drugs. They started sedating her at 2 years old because she would cry for her father. Oh. And so even up till close to when she passed away, I would get upset because I'm like, why does she choose this?
Yes.
I felt like, why does she choose this over me?
Yes, of course.
And she doesn't want to straighten up. No. She can, choose me over this. Yes. And so I prayed and asked the Lord, please help me love her for who she is, and not who I expect her to be.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, that's a very wonderful prayer.
It's a very, I watch other people. I'm envious of people who just love people for who they are. And I strive to be like that.
Yes.
But you get kind of cold sometimes towards those things, and she did start serving the Lord and going to church and things, but then she wasn't really going when she passed, but she knew the Lord.
Yes.
She knew the Lord. And so.
I mean, this life it's complicated, and people have so many layers.
They do.
And, but Jesus sees through all of it, and with His love, we can love. Yes. When our own love is not enough, we just have to pray that He gives us His love and His eyes. Yeah.
And I do know that my father had accepted the Lord as well before he passed. They passed in their early 60s. Oh, okay. Years of doing drugs destroyed their bodies. But I do know that they both had accepted the Lord.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's so wonderful.
So that's a great thing, because it's very strange. Part of the story is they split up when I was a child. When I was 30, as I mentioned, my grandfather was very involved in my life, his dad. My mom went to his funeral with me, and my father was there, and they got back together.
Oh, 30 years later.
30 years later, they got back together, and were together for about 12 years before my dad passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So very strange, but when he was in the hospital, my dad had cancer, and when he was in the hospital, I know he prayed and accepted the Lord. So
that's beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
So it was just,
there are no hopeless cases.
There are no hopeless cases. And I've talked to a lot of parents who they feel like they've messed up and they don't think their children can forgive them. But I forgave my parents.
Oh,
they put me through a lot, and I forgave them. I had a relationship with them.
Yes.
But we had to put the work in.
Yes.
And for kids who have grown up in that, your heart can get healed too.
Yes. Oh, that's a wonderful testimony.
Yeah. So,
and also, I mean, you growing up in this environment and God keeping you, and I mean, keeping you from the stigmata of I mean,
yes,
just from looking at you and from spending time with you, you cannot tell that you've had that kind of upbringing.
Right.
So God can protect even from you know, the all the outward things that can come with such an upbringing, and that you're a beautiful testimony of that.
I loved when I listened to one of the other Tell Your Stories. Abe said, you know, his mom didn't smell like smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really ministered to me.
Yes,
because
like the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego coming out of the fire, they didn't even smell like smoke. They didn't even
smell like smoke. And I think people say to me all the time, I had no idea.
Exactly. You don't smell like smoke.
Right. I don't smell like smoke.
God has protected
Praise
you.
God, I don't smell like smoke. And I have, I don't feel like I'm, you know, there's a lot of things that could have happened. I could have been hard towards people.
Yes.
I could have had, you know, no desire to love on people.
Oh,
but
yes.
I asked the Lord one time, what's my calling? And he said, love people. I said, but God, that's everybody's calling. He said, it's deeper.
Oh.
He said, it's a deeper love. And you're to love people.
But I mean, that is an amazing calling.
So, yeah.
Wow. And whatever you do, wherever you are,
yeah.
I mean, there are people, and to love them, and that's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my childhood and how I got saved. So,
and after that, has Jesus been faithful to you?
Oh, he's been so faithful to me.
Yes.
I
never given you any reason to walk away.
No. I always knew I could trust him because he provided for me. I mean, not physically. Not just physically, not just financially, emotionally. He's healed my heart of wounds and walked beside me. I know he's, you know, right.
Because even when you come to Jesus, doesn't mean that life will be perfect.
No.
So
and it wasn't.
No,
you know?
We have our ups and downs, and we go through darkness, even as believers. Yeah. But in those moments, can you remember any times where he has been specifically close to you?
Oh, I was a single mom for a while.
Okay.
And I was telling someone this story earlier that during that time I was able to take my children on vacation and things, and we didn't go on vacations when I was growing up. We didn't, you know, my mom was mostly a single mom, and we didn't go on vacation, you know, but he provided not just our needs, but our wants too.
That's beautiful.
I took my kids to Disney World.
Wow. I mean, and that is
right. Yes. And I took him on a cruise and things like that. But, you know, he walked beside me through all of that, where we never lacked.
Oh, like that's amazing.
I was single with 2 children. Their dad is in the picture, so it wasn't like I was supporting them solely, but still, all of my own finances and everything. We never had a lack in our refrigerator or our cabinets or anything. You know, our bills were paid. You know, everything. You know, as soon as like something would come along, an extra job would come along, or I would just be provided for.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, you know, even how I came to work at the church was a God story.
Yes.
And so I worked for a friend, and she had a real estate office, and I enjoyed my job. My kids could go with me. She was a blessing. She was a true blessing. And all of a sudden my heart started changing. I was kind of like, okay, something's going on. I don't feel like I'm supposed to stay here. And I didn't know why. I would be giving up bonuses. I would be giving up like different things. And a friend of mine who I had watched her child till he went to kindergarten, she worked for University Park Church, which formerly, you know, and she worked there, and she would say, come work with me. And I'm like, why would I give up this? I can take the kids with me. I can, you know, I get bonuses. And, but then my heart started changing. So I called the children's pastor at the time, and asked him if the job was still open. And he said, no, I just gave it to someone.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, well, never mind. All right, Lord, help me have a good attitude, you know, because I'm going to stay where I'm at.
Yes.
And then he called me again and said, well, this person decided not to take the job. Do you want the job?
Wow.
Just like handed me the job, you know.
Beautiful.
Well, it was a pay cut, and it was
a step of faith then.
Yes, it was a pay cut. I lost those bonuses, you know, things like that. And 3 months after I started working at the church, my boss and her husband and family moved to Chicago. and closed the office.
Really?
And I had no idea. But her husband was looking for a job. And so,
but that's amazing.
Like I was,
God
knew ahead of time. And when I told her that I felt like I was supposed to leave, she said, "I think you're hearing from God."
Wow.
But she didn't ever tell me why, And so that's how I came to the church. And so I started as a children's secretary, and then I became the benevolence director. And then I moved into working in the accounting and
and you've been such a blessing to the church. And,
I love the church. So I love being part of the church.
That's
and
wonderful.
Helping people. And that's my desire.
Yeah, loving people. That's your calling.
Yes, loving people, loving on people. So
that's wonderful.
That's how I came to work for Capstone Church.
Wow.
22 years ago.
Wow.
So,
and Jesus has been faithful.
He has been faithful the whole time. Even when I didn't serve him wholeheartedly, he was faithful and protecting and just always faithful.
Yeah, even when we're faithless, he's not.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And your children?
They serve the Lord.
Wow.
Yes. So, yeah.
And that is a blessing.
Yes, it is. Yes.
You managed to turn around, the legacy from your parents stopped.
Yes.
And you started something new.
Yes.
That's God through you started something new.
Yeah. So
that's
both
a beautiful
very,
blessing.
very talented in their gifts too, with worship and sound and things like that.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah.
What a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think all of your life is such a testimony that God can take something that starts out so in such a dark place and do something beautiful out of beauty, out of ashes.
Yes.
No hopeless cases.
Yes.
God protected you and kept you. And then turned your life around.
Yeah. And
you've been able to serve him. And now you have children serving him.
Yes.
And you have grandchildren
who
we pray will also grow up serving him.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
God bless you.